I would like to go through two suggestions or two models. One is what approach should be used here. Well, first of all, as once again walking it through a little bit more in detail. First step, as we said, gather deforestation, degradation data in the past. Many countries do have gaps in their assessment, but many countries do have most of the information available, and many countries already said that they're very surprised how much data is already available. If you're looking at data maybe going back 10 to 15 years, if possible, that is considered a reasonable time period where to look in the past. Second, develop baseline forest cover maps for a date, for a certain year, maybe 2011, that provide geospatial resolutions, basically saying where deforestation occurs and gives you a basic point in time where you can measure against. And then assemble forest inventory or literature data on biomass and density of forest, or estimate carbon stocking per hectare. Most inventory data does not include this. Most of the data will have to be reassembled over time. Don't worry, this can be done over time. Then second step, identify driver data layers. You will have to identify what caused the deforestation. You will have to understand would have been roads, would have been infrastructure, elevations, proximity to river, etc., and population center cities, etc., will explain why this is happening. Then taking these information into account and transfer this into CO2 emissions, and then taking these information and build your reference scenario and change your forest carbon stock over time. When now we are looking at the historic trend, which is basically the same as I said before, except for point 3, where we would looking now as also at the future, which will be looking at development plans, economic development plan, infrastructure plans, what kind of targets, for instance, the oil palm sector would have, what kind of sector the cattle ranching would lay out as their goal for the next expansion goals for the next 10 years, etc., or big hydro dams, etc., taking into account new drivers or old drivers, and analyzing very carefully how these new drivers or existing drivers would affect an historic trend or business as usual. Would it be higher emission reductions or lower emission reductions? And these new information would be compiled and included in a reference case that would be looking forward into the future. Some analytic consideration for you to analyze, maybe during the step of the readiness preparation proposal or during the readiness phase. Which approach here offered, the historic or the forward-looking one, will depend on the country and the land use patterns and the policy situation where we are, such as what kind of expected changes of drivers of deforestation do we expect, what kind of new infrastructure projects are expected, what kind of how much forest stock is still available, etc. What next point that should be considered? What assumptions should be made about incorporating national development plans and programs in the reference case? Also, how we should deal with managed and unmanaged forest. How should we deal with planned and unplanned deforestation? Would that be part of a forward-looking scenario? Would we taking this as granted, or is this influenceable? Is this something that's an external influence, or is this something that can be changed with policy? How to align methods and estimation results for REDD or other project or subnational activities. It's a very, very important point, as there is guidance, for instance, the IPCC, on how national reference scenarios could be built. On the other side, if you look at the project level or subnational reference cases, the voluntary carbon standard only addresses reference scenarios at the subnational or project level and does not make any reference, at the moment at least, to the national scenario. So these are issues that have to be addressed and considered in the discussion when we're looking at reference cases. And finally here, and maybe making it a little bit more explicit, when we're looking at the national reference scenario and all the accounting and monitoring that is included, but at the same time, we will have certain regions and areas and projects that looking at baseline and policies that are involved there. So in order to make the accounting system valid, we will have to address these different policies and guidance methods on a subnational level and explain and how these will fit together. At the moment, we have to say there are several options and proposals currently being discussed, but there is no country yet that has an ultimate solution for this kind of approach. Most advanced, maybe Brazil, Indonesia, and different aspects of the thinking on how to approach this, but yet it is a very challenging methodological issue that we will have to address as we go, and we will be definitely try to be of the best assistance as possible at the moment. Once again, this is not something you have to address in the readiness preparation proposal as such. Just consider as you go, as you implement the readiness phase and readiness activities, that you will have to look at these aspects. I would like to end here. Thank you very much for your attention, and I would be happy to answer any question that would come. Thank you very much.